Hello, welcome to the next GM report video. This one isn't going to be that long, hopefully, but we'll see. So, got my notes. First thing, while quite early in the session, I started drawing a dungeon map for this mini dungeon, for the first floor with the stairs going down this octagonal building, because I thought that if they fight the monsters, that fight might spill out up the ladder into that space, so I might as well prepare that now as to not break the flow later on. But then I realized, well, the chances of that happening are quite slim, so I probably don't need to actually prepare that, and so I changed my mind and deleted it. So yeah, that just explains that. Next, also quick note to add to that. I do prefer drawing maps on a whiteboard or something like that, like you can do with Roll20 with a brush, as opposed to pre-preparing them with textures and all of that sort of stuff, mainly because it allows for more fluidity. If the game flows a certain way, and it would narratively be much better if the map layout were slightly different, and I haven't said anything that would break continuity to change, then I can just make that change, and when I draw it, I can draw it differently. But of course, there's a place for both. The long rest took a long time. Like in session time, it took almost an hour, I think, from the start of the stream to when the long rest was over, which is half the stream, half the session. And normally I would have abbreviated that a lot and in an effort to speed things along. However, this was the first time that the group rested in Wilderness, and so I thought that going through all the details of gathering food and the shifts of watch and all that sort of stuff is necessary to maintain the feeling that this is actually Wilderness, and you do have to pay attention to those sort of things. Now, in the future, when the party does long rests, I'll probably abbreviate it quite a bit to keep things moving. But yeah, that took quite a while. The next thing is that Mr. W didn't want to use his divination dice for the puzzle in the mini dungeon, because he thought that I, as a GM, wouldn't metagame and put a challenge in a random dungeon that specifically is solvable by this one character. Because, I mean, normally that's true, because, I mean, it does kind of break immersion and doesn't feel great if you're adventuring and this is ancient stuff, and you enter this room and there is a challenge to overcome, and there is a character that just happens to be with the group who just happens to have an exact ability which just happens to solve this exact puzzle, and there was no reason for anyone to expect that this would happen to be this way. That feels unrealistic. That breaks immersion. That's not fun. Of course, we know, and by this point when Mr. W is watching this, hello Mr. W, you know as well, that of course there was a lot of reason behind this. And you were right to be suspicious. Like, I'm glad that you picked up on this being suspicious. It's just, your suspicion was directed at me on a meta level, whereas the suspicion could have been directed at the situation in-game. So the fact is, Sorum didn't try to lead the party down into the monster pit. Now, I haven't fully decided the reason behind that yet. If I want to be cynical about it, then Sorum didn't try to get the party down there because it wouldn't have succeeded, and it would have just added to the suspicion. If you want to think about it a little bit more wholesomely, I guess, you could see it as the party just took quite a lot of damage, and Sorum already sees, okay, they failed the trial, I'm not going to put them in more danger. Now that is a way you could see that. I'm not sure which of those I want to be the canon explanation, but that leads me to the next point, which is deciding on Sorum's morality. Because we know that Sorum got pulled into this through originally being poisoned, and then a cleric just so happened to show up to cure him, but that incurred a lot of debt. And then, fortunately, Skral Matan was there to offer him work. First of all, feeding the monsters discreetly by putting that rotten meat down into those different holes on the mini dungeons, and then escorting people up to his mansion, which I'm actually probably going to have at Vale Rift, as I discussed before. And then that escort morphing into putting a few little white lies in to make business deals go more favorably for Skral Matan. And then once he started lying, then he probably gathered some dirt on him through that. And then now it's just, well, lie to get people to go to these locations. Not that big of a leap. Now, where does Sorum draw the line? Because we know that Sorum was happy to lead people into that place where the trap got triggered. But maybe Sorum didn't know exactly how dangerous it was. Or Sorum also... No, Sorum must have been willing to go through with it, even if there hadn't been anybody else up there, because he couldn't have banked on that. And this clearly isn't his first mission. So he's okay with putting people in danger. But is he, though? Or is he being forced? You could say that Sorum might have family who would otherwise be put in danger. And if that's the case, then on the one hand, you've got the positive incentive of money and having a job, to as well having the negative incentive of keeping his family safe, if that is where we want to go with that. Which, it depends on how redeemable I want to make Sorum as a character. What would be more fun for the players? Because they are now suspicious. They started out trusting him, then they became suspicious, and if it turns out he is actually a bad guy, someone who wasn't originally but who got turned into a bad guy, then how they deal with him might be more interesting than if it's like, no, I am a good guy, I'm just being forced to do these bad things. Because at that point, although that might lead into more missions to... But no, that's too big of a scope. This is supposed to be a small campaign. So how about Sorum has been going through these missions, but in that it's become harder and harder for him to justify to himself that what he's doing is actually good. I mean, we don't know what Skral Matan told him. Maybe he believes... Thank you, Train. I agree. Well said. I mean, he could have told him something like that he's building a resistance to the tyranny of the Green Matriarch, and he needs powerful mages for this. And so, to test these mages, they should be pulled into these locations. And the thing is, Sorum always wanted to stay outside, or someone to stay outside to help them if needed, because this test isn't necessarily supposed to be lethal. And that's something that I have already decided on a long time ago when I first made up this world building around that. So Sorum thought that he was helping build a resistance to the tyranny of the Green Matriarch, but in recent times, as Zinthar's becoming more and more paranoid, that's been acting more pressure on Skral Matan, which means more pressure's been coming down to his minions, Sorum, of which is one. And so in that, he's becoming he's becoming more disillusioned with what's happening. And he wants to get out, but he knows that certain other people who tried to escape mysteriously vanished. They knew too much, and they got killed. That could also lead into Puck, maybe as well. So I think I'll go with that. Originally, he thought that Skral Matan was this great guy because he offered him work, money, when he really needed it to pay off the debt to the cleric. And then he got him doing some small lies to help with business. But really, that was just for the good of the island, for the good of the city, for the economy, for all of that. And then when it came to leading other people down to these places, Skral Matan was building a resistance to the Green Matriarch. And because, of course, the Green Matriarch is a tyrant. And so being part of the underground to help that, yes, it's not moral, but he wasn't sent to kill those people going down there. It's a test. And he was to remain outside so that he could open up the door again, so that he could maybe pull them out, or maybe he has healing potions on him. Because if he believes that what he's doing is truly good, and he doesn't want those people to die, or if he did, maybe he used to have healing potions on him going down there, so that if they did get hurt, he could heal them, and then they could escape. Maybe that's what's changed. Maybe he's been asked to put people into these situations without an escape plan, and that's what's made him want to escape, but now he's afraid. I think that's interesting. That's what I'm going to go with. I might deliberate that a little bit more, and I need to write it down in the notes. Originally, I didn't want to talk about this in the report video, but now I might be able to save myself from making a prep video as well. So there we go. That's pretty much it. So I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, so I'm back. Slight addendum. As I was leaving, I remembered that the Green Matriarch actually has a lot of influence. And so if there are people who are told that a resistance is being built to the Green Matriarch, then that information would filter through to her quite rapidly, especially if the lowest down minions, the one that are the most numerous and the least professional, are presented with this story. Skral Matan wouldn't want that to be linked to him. If it is linked to him, and the Scale Guard investigate him, then they won't be able to find anything, because there is no resistance. I mean, trying to investigate this resistance that's supposed to be building up, but not being able to find anything, might also encourage the Green Matriarch to leave the island in favor for that suddenly freed land way, way, way in the west. I suppose the only way that might work is if Skral Matan, if he's tied in with the economy and there's no actual evidence, then the benefit of the economy's health. Plus, if maybe he's also part of the Green Matriarch's intelligence. Maybe he's the one who actually also keeps an eye on the council. Maybe he is involved in those scrying target things. Those are all things to think about that won't be relevant for a long time, if ever. But it suffices in my mind to know there are avenues for this all to make sense. So that story of, I'm building a resistance, won't break things. Okay, now I'm actually gonna go. So thanks again. Bye-bye. Right, another very slight addendum. I've just thought of an obvious solution. And that obvious solution is that the whole resistance to the Green Matriarch is the Green Matriarch's idea. like, what better way to fight any potential resistance than to build one yourself and see who bites? Skral Metan was already powerful. Probably I'll keep the thing with a gem trade, powerful connections, but like, it's so obvious. If the Green Matriarch wants Skral Metan to try to see who would bite with that story, then of course stories would filter through. But that's so obvious. I don't know why I didn't think of that immediately. But yeah, that would solve all of those issues. It all works. So yeah. Oh, actually, we are now at this place again, which is one of my favorite spots in this little woodland. Just that view there. Hold on, I'll quickly show you the other camera. 1 second. Yeah, because this is the tree that I had showed you before in one of the videos. I think it might have been in the MVR update video, maybe. But you can see how ancient this is, and just this view back like that, with the tree overhanging from the top and the sun filtering through from up there. It's difficult to get into the lens of this camera because of the field of view, but just this, maybe with a little bit of parallaxing as well, so you can actually get a little bit of depth. Yeah, that's one of my favorite spots in this woodland. Anyway, I don't think we'll have any more addendums, but who knows? You will, because you'll see the video length at the bottom, and if there's lots of space, then there'll probably still be an addendum. So see you in a moment, or see you in a little while. Bye bye.